What's up, world? Damian Dotson here. Whole team Dot. My man ESPN Win. Win, by the way, we live from Brussels right now. Brussels. I'm in the middle of Brussels,
Yeah,
Belgium. If y'all don't know,
big shots out to Belgium, man. I had a great time out there before.
this episode, this podcast today is very special. I sprinted off the bus so I can get to my computer so we can set up and get ready for this. Today we have a very special guest. As we switching the dynamics a little bit with the pod. I know y'all used to seeing a lot of people on our side of the game, but today we're gonna switch it up a little bit. We got a very special guest. We got a coach that helped me a lot, that I listen to and I trust a lot. I had a great time with my experiences when I was in Cleveland. But we're gonna get to that. Win, how you feeling, brother? How's the life in Houston?
Man, life in Houston is amazing. Weather's crazy, but we grinding. We're doing everything we can to bring this podcast to you. As I always like to state, more than anything, man, this is an informative experience. We're not trying to be funny or do clickbait. We're just trying to give back to the game that has blessed us. So with that being said, man, I'm going to let you bring our very special guest on. I'm interested in looking forward to learning something myself, as I always try to do. And without further ado, man, I'll let you kind of pop the intro off, man.
Without further ado, we have Miss Lindsay, Coach Lindsay, USC women's head coach, the Trojans, Big Ten, correct? Big Ten,
Right.
number 5 in the nation right now. One of my favorite assistant coaches that didn't never yelled at me, only told me good things. Miss Lindsay. Miss Lindsay, how you doing, Coach?
I'm doing great.
Thank you for pulling up.
Man, it's good to see you. So happy for you doing this podcast and still having success playing, and really happy to be with you guys. I'm doing well.
I appreciate it. It's good to see you. I know maybe like 3 years ago when you took the job, 3-4 years ago, that summer you were like, if you're ever in LA, call me, come to the gym, work out. I still haven't been to LA and worked out yet. But when we come out there, we're going to make sure we come. I know it's home. I know we can get some shots up in the gym. But, Coach, I would say I appreciate it. Thank you for taking the time out. I know you're busy. I know your schedule is super busy. But we're going to get right into it. How's everything at USC? How's the transition been since the last time we were together? How's that transition been? How's your life changed? I know you got 2 youngins. Yeah. Congrats on the not fairly newborn and the youngin. How old is he now?
So Jordan is 7.
Okay.
He's so into basketball now. So I'll break out some photos sometimes and show that, he was at every NBA game when he was 2. I got a great picture of him with James Harden. I don't know if you remember, but I think it was the year before you got there. James dropped 55 on us in Cleveland and then took a photo with my kid. I was like, oh, you're too cool for me now. So he's 7 and he's a little hooper. And then we now have a daughter, Reese, who's 2, who I had the beginning of my second year here at USC. So family's great. Things have been good. Far from Cleveland. It's 70 degrees outside here in LA. You're in Brussels, so we're both a long ways from Cleveland, Ohio, but everything's been going well.
That's great. Make sure you tell your husband hello for me after this. Whenever you speak to him, tell him I said hello. But like I said, me and Win are excited to tap in and talk and get some of your insight and your perspective on the game from a different dynamic. So if you can, Coach, just give us a rundown on your journey of becoming a coach. Where did it start? I know you played at. I know this. You played at Brown, right?
You got it.
You played at Brown. Okay, yep. You played at Brown. You played 1 year, correct?
No, I played all 4 years. I didn't play very much. I was kind of honing my coaching skills sitting on the end of the bench. But I was there for 4 years. And really, quite honestly, I grew up outside New York City, and I was not your typical, little girl. I was way into sports. Was asking, my brother, my dad to take me into New York City to go see high school boys games. I remember seeing Felipe Lopez at Rice High School when he was the next big thing. So I was always really into basketball, but I really thought I would be a commentator, or a writer or something like that. And when I played basketball in college, probably like you guys to some degree, like you talk to your friends who are in it, and some people have a great experience and some people have a not so great experience. And a lot of that has to do with how they feel about the coach, and how they feel about the team chemistry. And so while I was in college, a lot of people in my family are lawyers. I was like, I don't want to sit in an office all day. I want to coach basketball and have an impact on, in particular, this age group, 18 to 22 years old. So that's what I became focused on doing. And I literally got my first job offer the day that I graduated college. I knew I wasn't good enough to play. So I focused on getting into coaching, and I went to Syracuse when I was 21 years old. And that started my coaching journey in college.
Man, that's amazing, Coach. And also, too, I will say upgrading from Cleveland to LA is quite the upgrade, man. I know that wintertime is much better out in LA than Cleveland, man. But let's kind of stay on what you just touched on now. So, I myself do think that a lot of your experience as a player has to do with the coach, right? Like how you feel about the coach and things of that nature. But also, too, your relationship with the coach is kind of based off, how well you playing or how receptive you are. So kind of talk to us about that, Coach. Is that kind of challenging to kind of balance the two of, man, I really like this person, I want the best for them, but, maybe they're not following everything I'm asking them to do, or vice versa, right? They're doing everything that I need them to do, but they're not the best player.
Right. No question. I mean, I would say just, speaking very transparently, that's the hardest part. We all know we have a job to do here and win games and grow young people, but you can't give everyone everything they want all the time. I mean, I've got 15 players, and I wish I could just press a button and everyone plays as much as they want, shoots as much as they want, sees the ball go in as much as they want, but that's not realistic. So in the absence of that, I think you just have to create a culture that people believe in. You have to invest in people both on and off the court, and then you hope to just keep them going when things aren't going exactly their way, and get them to the point where it is, or even change their perspective on what success looks like. Everyone's not going to be, a star per se, but you want to create something that they want to be a part of. But I would say that's my biggest challenge as a coach, is as a human being, and having empathy. You want them to get what they want, but you're also trying to teach these young people that you don't always get exactly what you want just because you work hard or just because you think you deserve it. So it's definitely a challenge of coaching.
Exactly. Coach, I kind of want to throw this out there because this is when you were in Cleveland. I went through a stretch. I know you remember when you guys had me playing point guard, correct?
Yeah.
That stretch where I was playing solid. I was playing decent. We weren't winning very much, but I felt like I did well. I don't know if you know this story, but we played New York at home. We played New York in New York. Before practice, before the shoot around, I went up to Bickerstaff. And I was like, Coach, if you're not going to play me, or if you're going to play me spot minutes, don't play me at all. And that's one of those situations where it's like, I understand what you're doing, but as a coach, I can't make everybody happy. In that instance, I feel like I should have been quiet in that instance. But the night before, it was killing me I had to say something. But this just goes to show, like, I understand where you're coming from too, saying, hey, I can't make everybody happy. I understand what you're doing. I understand, but does that help the team? And I can't make everybody happy. So now that you're saying it and I understand it and I'm realizing, that makes sense. I probably shouldn't have said nothing at all. But at the end of the day, it's revisionist history like we talk about on here. And, if I wouldn't have said anything, maybe that would have killed me and I would have never been okay with myself. But it is what it is. I'm here now.
I didn't know the story at the time, but I did know it because I heard you talk about it on your podcast. I listened. I thought it was interesting, but yeah, I mean, I don't think there's anything wrong at times with sort of, you need that relationship, right? And revisionist history, maybe, in your younger days, whatever, you would handle things differently. But I do think open communication is important. I tell the players, I want them to be able to come in here and talk to me. You're not always going to get the answer you want from me, but I'd rather have it be where we're on the same page and there's some honesty going on. And it's an interesting thing, right? Because sports is made up of competitive individuals who are trying to get, where they want to go individually. But obviously as coaches, we're trying to figure out what impacts winning. So there's a little bit of both going on at all times.
Exactly.
Coach, man, I kind of want to switch gears with you a little bit and, kind of continue with this a little bit. But in kind of speaking on that, these relationships and kind of open communication, like, let's kind of touch on what type of players are you looking for while you're recruiting, right? Like, is that something that you're kind of evaluating to yourself while you're searching for, the next person to get a scholarship at USC. Like, what are you looking for?
Absolutely. I mean, I think being a head coach is kind of like being the CEO of a small company, right? We're in charge of so many things, but when it comes to talent evaluation and building a team, it is like you put your GM hat on. And I've never believed that it's just stockpiling the best 14 players or whatever you can get. It doesn't work that way. Like, you're trying to find pieces that fit together, people that fit your style of play, but also fit your culture and who you want to bring in that locker room. When it comes to college, you have to layer like the classes. You can't have, a great point guard who wants to come in and get minutes if you've got 2 or 3 other great point guards. You're trying to figure out who can play together and fit in. So we're trying to evaluate all of that while we're watching. Also in high school, you're trying to watch players and say, okay, whatever their skill set is, whatever they do really well, does that translate to the next level? Because some people can get 30 in a high school game, but if they can't get 30 in a college game, what else can they do? And so you're trying to look at whose game translates. This day and age, you're also looking at what do they want? Are they coming and trying to be, someone who gets 25 shots, and does that fit with who you have? So you're really trying to just build the right atmosphere, build the right team. We also have, the academic component. Do they want to be at USC for all the other reasons that USC is a terrific place? So all of that goes into recruiting. And then you're also recruiting an entire family, an entire unit, and kind of bringing that into this culture. So in that sense, it's a little different than the NBA, where the NBA is a little more transactional when it just comes to, here's the money, here's the contract, here's the fit, who works and who doesn't.
Yeah, that's funny you say that, because every coach that we had on here, that college coach, has been transactional conversations, relationship conversations, due to NIL, due to receiving money as college players and how that's affecting a lot of decisions. So with that being said, Coach, how has NIL affected women college hoops? You have girls like Juju, of course. You have girls like Paige at UConn. You had the Angel Reeses. You had the Caitlin Clarks. You have the girls at LSU. So how has NIL affected college hoops and recruiting at the same time?
Yeah, I mean, the way I really talk about NIL, first you have to differentiate what I would call like the real NIL, like people making money for their name, image, and likeness having value. And I think there's some like misconception there that if you weren't marketable yesterday, you aren't really marketable today. So I think that's been an interesting thing. So for us, I feel like where women have really excelled is that when you're talking about the 18 to 22-year-old demographic, women have proven to be a bit more marketable, like your Jujus and your Pages become the stars, Flage. I mean, and I think we've seen that their ability to capitalize and turn this platform into real life-changing money is a great thing. It's something that I've embraced from day one, maybe because that's always been my mindset. Players should have been getting paid. But also my time in the NBA helped with that, right? Like just seeing how you can be business people that also obviously have your focus on basketball. So for us, being in LA, this is the best spot to be. Like other players from other teams have to fly to LA to film something. Like Juju can literally have an off day, do a commercial, and come back and be in study hall or be getting shots up. So we want to win in that era and showcase our players, give them opportunities to grow outside of basketball. But at the same time, it doesn't impact the integrity of our locker room, because I think that we make it about winning and culture above all else. We just embrace the opportunities players have. The same way I would embrace an opportunity for my 6'6" senior who wants to be a doctor, that when she has a chance to get an internship, I'm going to let her go do an internship, right? So the real NIL has been, I think, something very positive for our game. Now you get the revenue sharing and the increased money through the collectives. And, there's no question it becomes part of the conversation in recruiting, and a different entity that none of us are really used to. I think we're all kind of working it out. But like I said before, I don't think anyone's going to be successful if you just try to buy a roster. You have to have people who want to be in it for the right reasons. There's a lot of grind and work that goes in every day, but the chance for female athletes to also make money is a wonderful thing for them, because they don't make necessarily life-changing money in the W. So if college can be a platform that helps them, I'm all for it. And I want to help teach them, how to be good business people on top of, everything else they have going on.
Yeah, I've heard Angel Reese kind of several times say that she was making more money at LSU than she makes in the WNBA. And I kind of had a theory about that. And so I would love to pick your brain. But the fact that women have to stay in college, is it 3? You have to stay 3 years at least?
You actually, it's 4, or you have to be turning 21 in the year of the draft.
Go to the draft.
3 or 4 years is really the way the rule's written.
So, I mean, the stars are staying longer in college, which makes the game a better product, right? Which makes it, I believe, more valuable as opposed to the men's side, right? We might see our guy, but we see him for 1 year and then now he's off to the NBA. It kind of hurts the game on the men's side, I think, which is why you have, so many namesake stars that you can just point to on the women's side that you can't necessarily point to on the men's side. So is that something that you think is kind of built into it? Or is that just a byproduct of we're making the women stay in college longer?
That's a good question. I think it's a little bit of both. I think if you look at the exposure and the platform of women's college basketball, it's still greater. So even take Caitlin Clark and her valuation. If she had left, after her sophomore year from Iowa to go to the WNBA, she would not have the notoriety and therefore the earning power that she had 2 years later. There's no I think, reciprocal way that she could have built her brand like that. So I do think women's college basketball being the biggest platform allows them to grow their brand, and then they bring that brand into the W. That's just the way it is right now. I think if the collective bargaining agreement that the W is going to sign here in a year or so were to change the salaries significantly, well, sure, if you're leaving college early to go make, $6 to $10 million in your first contract and maybe a couple $100 million in your second contract, no one will be caring about building their brand for 2 more years. But for women, the money that you're making from the W at this point isn't money you'd retire off of. So it all, has to be kind of a continual, I think, process to build your brand. And that's where I think staying in college longer has been beneficial. So besides from basketball, right? It probably helps, grow your game a little bit as well too.
No, I agree. See, that's what. So for me, that's what I've been preaching. Even on the men's side, I would say if I had a son and he's talented, but we think, okay, maybe you can use 3 years. And if you're making 300 or 400,000 every year, then why not maximize those 3 years, maximize you getting better, maximize your potential. But also, if you're really good, you might want to go to the NBA because that's a different dynamic. Like you said, the collective bargaining agreement is different on the NBA side.
Correct.
But for the women's, it makes sense. If I'm Flo J over at LSU, I'm on commercials. I'm on Beats commercials. You know what I mean? I'm on commercials with Lil Wayne. She's making all type of money on top of playing and doing her thing and also being good and having potential to play at the next level. So I'm all for the staying in college for the women on the women's side. Also the men's side.
I was going to say the men's side now becomes an interesting thing because, we all know that every agent and every, friend is telling someone they're a first round pick, but most of them aren't. So if you're not a first round pick and you end up in the G League at this point, to travel charter in college, to make what some of these guys are making also makes sense, to stay a little bit longer. Whereas it used to be, if you couldn't make a dime in college, well, of course you go and start making money for your family, even if it was a 2-way or whatever. Now there's a little more decision making to happen there. So it'd be interesting to see how that impacts on the men's side. And some people may be staying a little bit longer than they had before, unless you're a surefire, Cooper Flag or something like that.
Yeah. I mean, I know some guys now, some younger guys that's just racking it up, just adding up. They've been there school 4 or 5 years.
Yeah,
I mean, they're able to take care of their family. Like,
for sure.
At some point, you're taking care of your family. You're getting these funds every month.
Yeah,
you're getting these funds for the year. You got scholarships. They don't have to pay for anything because at the end of the day, what was the ultimate goal coming out of high school? You get a full ride, so your parents don't have to pay for school. Right. So now on top of that, getting a full ride, I'm also able to send money back home and take care of my family, and they can do whatever they want potentially. So that's interesting. I love it. I hate that we missed it, but I love it. I love it for all the guys now. So it's definitely.
But, Coach, in terms of just strictly from skill set in basketball, do you think it would be beneficial for some women to be able to go one and done though?
I mean, do I think some women could do it? Are they is Juju talented enough to play in the W? Is Hannah Hidalgo, Paige? Sure. Even though, the W has great talent and they're veteran people, absolutely some of these young stars could do it. whether or not it's beneficial, I think, depends on that whole landscape of things we're talking about. There's an infrastructure in college that can, really help you. We have trainers, we have nutritionists, we probably have more resources in a lot of ways than the W does to some degree to really grow as a person and challenge yourself. But certainly if the collective bargaining agreement changes and that rule changes, I think there's certainly people who are capable of doing it. Doesn't necessarily mean that it's the right thing or the best thing. Capability wise, I mean, absolutely. I think, there are players that could hang or be impactful in the W earlier than what we've seen before. But I don't necessarily think on the women's side, we have to be in a race to be exactly like the men's side.
Yeah. I kind of want to pick your brain a little bit, kind of going back to the summertime with the USA team, because I kind of want to get your insight on, because me and Wynn was going at it a little bit about this situation, but them not adding Caitlin or Angel to the USA team, how do you feel about that, and what do you think that was about? Do you think it made sense? Because from my understanding, if I have one of the best college players that we've seen that has all this following, and if I'm watching the USA team and she's on there, that gives the women's side another audience. Because if she was on the team, I would have watched. Yep. I'm being honest. If Caitlin Clark or Angel Reese was on the USA team, I would have caught at least 1 or 2 games.
Yep, you're more likely to get the casual fan. I think I'm more what your intent is, right? If I'm NBC wanted Caitlin on there for sure. If I'm, probably Adam Silver and, and the NBA and people who are interested in growing the W, yes, you want more eyes on it. But if you're the committee, see, women's basketball, USA team is picked by a committee, which is interesting too. The men's side has one managing director, Grant Hill. So it's a little bit more, just isolated into 1 or 2 people making calls, but you've got a committee. And so if they're thinking about the integrity of USA basketball and how they grow a program and how they win gold medals, I think they're thinking about more than just the eyeballs on it. They're saying, okay, you get these women to come to training camps, to give up their free time, to put the time in. And how do you get anyone to do that in the future if you just add Caitlin, who hasn't been able to go to those? I think those dynamics were more in play. I think they're also looking, okay, who do you take off? At the time they made the decision was right at the beginning of the WNBA season, before Caitlin had really started, finding her way. I think even some of the people on the committee said if it had been 6 weeks later, maybe the decisions are different. So I just think it's one of those questions that doesn't have just one answer. But from a marketing standpoint, no question, if Caitlin had been in games, there would have been more eyeballs. But I think the integrity of people making decisions around USA basketball are saying we have to go with the way that we've done it and how we select these teams. And even Caitlin recently said in that Time article, I don't want to be there as a marketing ploy. I want to be there because I deserve to be there. Now there's an argument that she did deserve to be there.
I was going to say that.
It's a whole different thing, but I think the people at USA basketball were a little bit more worried about, how they manage everybody and get
basically the precedent they would set.
Yes, correct.
If they did that now, maybe next year Paige feels like she should be on there, or et cetera, as we go down the line. So I understand that.
No, it was interesting because that was a big argument over the summer. We talked about it a bunch. I had a conversation with the U of H head coaches. I kind of want to pick their brain and ask them what they thought about it. But, like you said, it makes sense if we're thinking about it from that aspect. But Coach, like I said at the beginning, Wynn talked about it. I mean, I talked about it at the beginning, but you coaching me in Cleveland, I remember that vividly. It was only 1 year. It was after COVID, no fans, a lot of practices, spending a lot of time together.
Yes.
You were there for 2 years.
Yeah.
I would say my question to you, Coach, and we want to know on the pod, what was the most valuable thing that you learned while coaching in the NBA?
Oh man, there's too many things to say in a efficient amount of time, but I really learned a lot of things. I think the first thing for any person in any profession, I would say to be, and I'm not saying I was at the top of my profession by any means, but to be a head coach and to have done it for a while and then shift and be out of my comfort zone and just get to learn and grow. Like, I would wish that for anybody in any profession, right? It was an incredible opportunity that grew me as a human being in so many ways. I mean, even just thinking, look, I'm a white female from suburban New York. I've spent most of my life in situations of privilege, right? To now all of a sudden be the other in every room, Every room I was in, the only female or the only college person or the only has just, I think, maybe a better human, a better coach. Like those are the big picture things I would say. From a basketball standpoint, it was unbelievable to be like in a think tank of the game with some of the brightest people. And when I say the brightest people, the players, incredibly bright minds, picking your brain, JaVale McGee, Tristan, Kevin Love, like really smart people. And then from a coaching staff perspective, in college, we manage so many other things. I'm doing so many other things. X's and O's become smaller. Whereas in the NBA, like you're talking to your guys and you're talking about X's and O's and that's it. So I would say for that amount of time, I just talked spacing and angles and how you manipulate defenses and create space. Like the basketball piece was actually really, really good for me. And I think has helped me, coming into this new role where I have more talented players maybe than I have ever before. And so I lean on that quite a bit. But I mean, there's a million things. There's so many things that I learned, but I would say those would be the two main things: the off the court, just kind of human growth, and then the on the court ability to talk X's and O's so much.
Yeah, that's amazing. To see like the switch, how you was able to switch and fit in. That's not easy. That's not easy. Like if for me, seeing a women's coach on that highest level, it's kind of I know it felt weird for you. I'm not speaking for you, but just kind of giving me advice or giving Colin Sexton advice or Darius Garland, like, oh, you need to go here. And when they head, you need to, that could be a weird feeling,
Yeah, for sure. I will say like it actually normalized the most when it got to just the basketball. So my first year, my first scout, we had an exhibition game. We were going to play the Pistons and then going straight to play the Celtics, 2 exhibition games. And after we played the Pistons, we were staying over a day and we were going to Dan Gilbert's house to have a practice and meet with him. So we're on the bus to Dan Gilbert's house. And Coach Beeline at the time, that's, there's a lot of interesting things, but he turns around and he says, hey, I just got a text. Dan and his family in the front office want to do the scout today. Are you ready? And I was like, oh shit, I guess I better be ready, So here I am at Dan Gilbert's house, ready to deliver my first scout. And I'll never forget, Tristan was on one side, Kevin Love was on the other side. I was more nervous than you could imagine. But when I started talking about the scout, it became just basketball. They say the 10,000 hour thing. I've done 1,000, 2,000 scouts in my lifetime. I actually felt more comfortable talking basketball. And I think that's when I kind of like let my guard down. The interpersonal stuff was pretty easy for me, Dot. Like guys just want you to be authentic. They want you to be themselves. Everyone was so accepting. They want you to know basketball, but more than anything, players don't want a fraud or they don't want someone who's not a good person. So the personal connections came easily, but it was once we started talking basketball that I felt like I gained people's respect and also just relaxed. And so then when I'm sitting and watching film with Colin, we did a ton of film together. I just listening to him. What do you see? What do I see? That became more of a comfort zone for me, even though it felt weird at the beginning. And I did have those, oh my God, what if these guys don't listen to me? What if I can't do it? But it all became, I think, more comfortable once those relationships took place. And also once it just was talking hoops, and that came naturally for me.
Exactly. Well, it definitely is a great reflection and shows who you are, the fact that you're even there. So I'm sure most guys would respect you off the fact, hey, you're not going to make, just like players, same for coaches. You're not making it to this level unless you're the elitist of elite. And that's players, coaches, front office is same. Everybody's the same. We're the most elite of elite. So I would imagine that was a pretty smooth transition for you. And like you say, once you kind of get down to the nitty gritty of why I'm here doing what I'm supposed to be doing, then that really smooths the situation out. So, Coach,
especially for me, I never felt that. I was just asking a question. For me, it was always authentic. I never had that even thought like, oh, she don't know what she's talking about or why she here. I was always like immediately like, oh yeah. She got it. If she tell me something, I'm doing it. It's no question. It's no question. So I was just wondering, just from an aspect of just that whole dynamic,
It was. There were times where I'd look around and be like, oh my gosh, like this is crazy. I mean, sometimes I wouldn't see another female for like 2 or 3 weeks. Remember, we had Lauren in the front office, and like that was it. But so it was weird at times, and then it was really normal at times. It was really the relationships like this and the conversations. And I just remember sitting in the where we would eat and asking you about your journey. And I just felt like the more that I learned about people, it was just such a rewarding thing. Like sports is the relationships and then what you're trying to do together as a group, even though, we didn't win a ton, but we had a lot of young guys that I felt like really needed, a lot of, just support and mentoring. And it was really an incredible experience.
No, for sure. For sure. Coach, we know we keeping you a long time, but we were going to kind of wrap it up. We're going to wrap it up a little bit soon. But I know we have an interesting question. Most people want to know this. Everybody wants to know this. What's the experience like coaching Juju Watkins?
She's incredible. I know you guys have probably seen the highlights and the stuff that goes viral, but the first thing I'd say is this young woman made a commitment to me and to USC and kind of bet on us and bet on herself, coming off of a year, my first year here, where we weren't good. We were 12-16. And think about that. In women's basketball, the best players almost always go to the top schools, because then you're guaranteed to be on TV and you're guaranteed to have a shot at the Final Four. And she did something very unique. And she came here before it was kind of cool to come here, and now we're hot and people see what we can be. But that's something I think is really unique. She cares about her community. She has unimaginable skill and talent, and yet she's still so young and is very coachable and learning. So she's really, really just a special talent, and it's super fun to coach her. I've actually had to go to some NBA coaches and say, okay, how do I get her in this ISO situation, or how do I get her over here? Because she has the game, more like an NBA style player. But she's really just a 19-year-old young person at heart, and is very gracious, and a little bit of a circus around it now with all the attention we're getting, but she's pretty good at staying level-headed. And I'm glad for her to kind of turn this into, some fame and some money and opportunities, but she still keeps the main thing, and is a great teammate and hooper. Yeah.
That's what I would say. I would say just from just watching her and how she keeps her composure, it looks like I've been here before.
Yeah.
Yep.
I
know what I'm doing. I've been here before. It's only a little bit of celebration and I'm locked in. Yep. So I know that's probably extremely easy to coach when you got somebody so talented and they locked in at the same time. Yep. just from watching her, I think she's composed, the most composed I've ever seen, and she's super nice. So it's kind of it's perfect. It's a perfect balance to have as being a top player, being recognized, and being on the top team. Yep. So I promise. I bet it's easy to coach that. I'm not a coach, but I can only imagine.
Yeah, sometimes it's, you try to, with someone that talented, you try to stay out of their way and not overcoach. And at the same time, she sees every coverage under the book. So just trying to help her navigate what's coming. But you hit the nail on the head. She's kind of got the full package, and just trying to help her excel and utilize all of that and achieve everything that she wants to achieve.
Coach, so obviously you got probably the best player in the nation right now. I checked you guys out, 10-1 on the season. What's the realistic expectations for you guys? From the outside looking in, it looks like you guys can compete at the highest level. Is that kind of what you guys are hoping for? What does that look like?
Yeah, that's the goal, right? I think you want to say that everything we're doing is to get ourselves ready to try and have a chance to win a national championship. Obviously, no one that can't be guaranteed. So you got to do the work every day, and there's so much to happen before that, right? We've got a whole Big Ten season. We've got, a big game next Saturday against UConn. There's all these steps along the way, but you just want to do everything to put yourself in a situation to have a shot when it comes down to the championship opportunities in March. And I think that we do, that those are what the goals are. We're not shying away from those expectations.
Yeah, good luck. Good luck with that. I know you guys are gonna get it done.
Yeah.
But Coach, we have a segment here. I'm gonna let Winston pop it off, and I'm gonna let you answer it. This is gonna be the end of the pod.
Okay.
But this is an interesting staple that we have on this podcast, and we have to know this, and we have to put you through it. So go ahead, Win.
Well, like I said earlier, Coach, from the outside looking in, we all know that USC women's basketball has a storied history. It seems like there's been stars that's been coming out of there at least since the 80s. So, Coach, if you had to say, or if you had to give the people at home a history lesson on USC women's basketball, who would you say are the top 5 women to come through USC?
Ooh, it's a good one, because I do think this is an incredibly, historic program, and people don't know enough because it was a little bit more in the past. But I think the women that are on my wall behind me, I think could stand up against any. There's six on here, could stand up against any 6 from UConn, Tennessee, really anywhere. And so people should know their history. It starts with Cheryl Miller. I really believe her career was cut short, but I think she's the greatest female basketball player of all time when you see her talent and what she did. So Cheryl Miller's definitely on the USC Mount Rushmore. We also have the first overall pick in the WNBA ever. That's Tina Thompson. She's on there. We've got the first WNBA MVP. That's Cynthia Cooper. You got to. She played 10 years overseas. Kind of came into the W almost past her prime and still killed, right? And was amazing. Then you've got the first player ever to dunk in the W, and that's Lisa Leslie. So that's 4. I do really feel like it's not too early to say like Juju's going to be in that conversation. I know it sounds crazy, right? She's so young, but we won't include her for now to pay deference to everyone else. Then I'm going to kind of combine them to one of the McGee twins. So we had JaVale McGee in Cleveland, his mom, Pam McGee, and her twin sister, Paula. A great story about Cheryl. They were already here, and Cheryl was deciding between UCLA and USC. And they said, I mean, you can go to UCLA and you'll be great, but you're not going to win anything because we're here. So if you got to come here to win a national championship. They were like the toughness factor. So I think the McGee twins round that out as top 5, 6, if you count them as one of all time. And I think, at some point Juju's going to be right, at the center of that conversation too. But it's a pretty amazing history of women's basketball here at SC.
That sounds pretty standard, pretty staple. Like if that should be top 5 anywhere, is on the wall behind you.
Yeah.
I didn't know Cynthia Cooper went there. Yep. Cynthia Cooper played for the Comets.
Yes.
My grandmother used to work at the arena, so I know all about the Comets. The Lisa Leslie's, the Cheryl. Who else? Who did you say number 2 again?
Cheryl Miller. Tina Thompson.
Tina Thompson was with the Comets. So. I have my history a little bit. I didn't know they went to USC though. That's interesting. I didn't know that.
Yeah. And JaVale's mom played overseas was one of the first women. She had JaVale and said, "Oh, I'm not coming to play for this team unless you can help me with childcare," and just did some really cool things and raised him. And he's obviously been an NBA champion and a veteran. And it's pretty cool how all the things come full circle.
Now Cheryl Miller. That's Reggie Miller's sister. You know that, right?
Yeah. She scored 100 points. She scored 100 points in the game. Yeah, I know that. She's a legend. She's a legend. Yeah. So Coach, we have Cheryl Miller.
Yeah.
You said Tina Thompson.
Yeah. Tina Turner. Tina Thompson. Yeah.
Tina Thompson. Mm-hmm. Cynthia Cooper.
Lisa Leslie.
Lisa Leslie. And the Miller.
The McGee twins as well.
The McGee twins. Yeah. Okay, that's perfect. Coach, it's been amazing. It's been a quick 38, 40 minutes. I really appreciate it. It took us like a week or so to get this done, but I appreciate you taking your time out. It means the world to me. I really appreciate it. It gives us another dynamic on the pod to let people know that we're not just one-sided. We're also, we're also trying to touch on the other side, get another fan base and audience to let them know that, hey, look, men's basketball is not the only important basketball side. So, I appreciate it. Just giving your insight and giving your knowledge. It means the world. It means the world to the podcast. I want to say thank you, 100% thank you. Whenever I'm in LA, I'll make sure I come and holler at you, see you.
I was going to say, you got to come get some shots up. Like I said, it's always your gym, and super proud of everything you're doing. And anything you need from me, just let me know.
We'll do. I appreciate it, Coach.
Be safe.
Have a great one.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Yeah, I'll see you later.
Talk soon.
Thank you so much.
All right, bye-bye.
All right.